With the help of Hashem, we are learning Taanis Daf Tes. We are continuing to learn this amazing sugya, really all about rain, about Hashem's sustenance, about, as we will see today, about Hashem's specific Hashgacha Pratis. We left off on Daf Tes Amud Aleph, mamash on the second line from the top of the Amid. We just quoted a drush from Rabbi Yochanan, or a understanding of Rabbi Yochanan, that when it says in Parshas Re'ei, Aser ta'aser, tithe, you shall tithe. Now the pshat of the pasuk is we're speaking about produce that grows specifically in Eretz Yisrael, and we have all of our obligations of separating truma and separating ma'aser rishon and ma'aser sheni, etc. But the expression is of a double nature, aser ta'aser. So Rabbi Yochanan says, aser shetis asher, that if you tithe, you will become wealthy. Now we'll just begin right now in the introduction to say that there's a three-way machloikas rishonim, whether this limud is a do'iraisa, and we're speaking here asher b'shvil shetis asher is called ma'aser ksafim. The limud of Rabbi Yochanan means that from our income we are to give 10%. In the Torah, ma'aser means from the produce, not anywhere. Not everywhere. The produce from Eretz Yisrael, you have to separate trumas and maasros. Nice. That's, of course, that's the oiraisas. That's the whole Seder Zeroyim. Question is, or a big part of Seder Zeroyim, is giving what we call 10% from our financial income. Is that a biblical obligation? Is this a rabbinic obligation? Or is this what's called a good minig? That is the three-way machlokes rishonim, that Taanis Daf Tes. So Tosfos holds, as we'll read it quickly inside, that the limud of Rabbi Yochanan is a do'iraisa. He's in the minority opinions, but that's a very strong statement, that giving 10% or the minimum of 10% from one's income is a biblical obligation. Most of the Rishonim understand the way we normally understand the drasha, the pshat of aser ta'aser is to give trumas u'maisres from produce. Rabbi Yochanan's limud is a derabanan. That's the majority opinion. And then you have what some of the Rishonim hold, that it's a good minig. And be that as it may, that is where we left off. So we're going to learn more about giving ma'aser ksafim, giving from one's financial income, giving 10% at least. And we're going to have the famous pasuk that we have in Malachi, that even though that it's biblically prohibited to test God, it's a pasuk in the Torah. Lo yisinasu es Hashem. Testing God means doing mitzvahs with the intent, not with the hope that I'm going to do this mitzvah for my son to get well. As we learned, Hadei Zet Tzaddik Gomur. But if a person is saying, I want to see if all this is true, I'm going to do a mitzvah, and if things get better, whatever that is, emes. And if not, God failed the test. That mindset of God failing the test is prohibited midoraisa, with one exception. And that exception is ma'aser ksafim. And by ma'aser, that means by giving money to tzedakah from one's income. It says in Malachi, not only are we allowed to test God, but God is pleading with us, ubechanuni na bezois. See, now what we see is, I can say from my life's experience, that people that give tzedakah, not from one day to the next, but over the matter of a year or two, they mamish become wealthy. And this is a pasuk in Malachi. This is the mitzvah where God is challenging us to test Him by giving ma'aser ksafim. Now we're going to have a few amazing concepts today. There's something that's called matar, and there's something that's called parnasa. And as we will see, that rain, God provides even if there's only one individual that needs it. One of the ways that we see the concept of hashgacha pratis is through rain, as we'll see phenomenal stories today. Parnasa means Hashem is going to be providing prosperity. Maybe Parnasa is what we would call wealth, ashirus. Parnasa is given by God when there is a communal need for it, or in the merit of the community, not for a yachid. Matar and Parnasa, such a concept differentiating one from the other. We're going to learn about interesting signs as to when will it begin raining? How do you know it's going to begin raining? So there's something called flying clouds. We're going to learn all about clouds today. How certain types of cloud formation is an indication it's about to rain. And it's actually needed to know, you have to see these samanim. First of all, take your kalim inside the house if you see these flying clouds. But furthermore, if you remember, we learned that if it's about to rain and it doesn't rain, that's an indication that we got to really better ourselves. That's the withholding of the rain. And if there's such a thing that happens, then again, it's going to be a siman that there are certain behaviors that we have to improve, because if you have the flying clouds and it still doesn't rain, then there's something that Hashem is reacting towards, that we have to upgrade our behavior. And finally, on Daf Tes Amud Beis, we're going to begin the big machlokes Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, which l'chur is connected to the big machlokes Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, and Rosh Hashanah, as to when did God create the world. Rabbi Eliezer, Tishrei, Rabbi Yeshua, Nisan. Here we have another machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer says that the waters from the rains originate here on the earth, in the oceans. As we keep on quoting the pasuk in Bereshis, ve'ed yalam min haaretz, that vapor goes up. This is what it looks like to us. Rabbi Yeshua holds, we learned yesterday about the kuba in the heavens, that there is some type of water in the heavens. And from there the rains come. They go from there into the clouds, and then it comes in. Now, the vapor is only to create the clouds. The clouds are the kalim, but the oil is given by God, and that's a very meaningful machlokes. If we'll have time, we'll speak about the meaning behind this Alpi Chasidus and a lot more. And let us start again. We're going to begin in the second line from the top of the Amid. After Rabbi Yechanan teaches aser ta'aser, I would like to read the Tosfos, like we mentioned, because that's the shitas Tosfos, that giving money to tzedakah, giving 10% or more from one's financial income, is a chiyuv midoraisa. So look inside Tosfos. Aser ta'aser hache isa b'sifri. Aser ta'aser al kol tfuah zarecha yotzeh hasad shana shana. The pasuk explicitly is speaking about produce. Says the Sifri, Einli elo tfuah zarecha shechayev b'maiser. What about ribis? What about prakamatya? Ribis in this context is obviously speaking about permitted interest. It means money income. Your money is growing, or business that you make, in which, like my father would say, just don't lose money, but some people actually make money. Or v'chol shar revachim, or any other financial profit, minayin. How do you know? Talmud loimer, es kol, verstehst? Not es tfuah zarecha. There's a word kol. So the word hava matzilameimar es tfuascha. My kol, the word kol is l'rabbeis ribes uprakamatya, etc., etc. That shitas Tosfos quoting a Sifri, that giving what we call meiser ksafim is a biblical obligation. Again, most of the Rishonim hold that it's a midrabanan, and then you have another minority opinion on the other side of this machlokes, which holds that it's called a good minhag. Okay, back in the Gemara. Ashkechei Rabbi Yechanan liyanuka de Reish Lakish. Ki yadua, Reish Lakish married Rabbi Yechanan's sister, and we have the story in Bava Metzia Daf Peidalid, where there was a certain moment in which, tragically, because of a non-positive interaction between Rabbi Yechanan and Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish passed away. Reish Lakish left from his children at least a young son, who we are calling now the Yanuka of Reish Lakish, and the uncle Rabbi Yechanan interacted with him, and that interaction is recorded here. So at a time, Rabbi Yechanan met the Yanuka, the young boy of Reish Lakish. This is after the passing of his great father Reish Lakish, Rab Shimon ben Lakish, and Amar Lei, and Rabbi Yechanan tells him, and this was a common practice, even though Neviah, prophecy, Nevuah, was generally taken away from the Jewish people during the end of the Zman Bayis Rishon, only entering the beginning of Zman Bayis Sheni, and indeed we closed the Tanach because of it. But as the Gemara tells us in Kedushin, that the koyach of prophecy was given over to other types of people, including minors, and therefore it's a common thing, right? Many people do it today with the Igris. What do? You see a child and you ask a child, tell me the pasuk that you learned in Cheder. And the pasuk that he tells you is like a minor nevuah. It's Hashem communicating to you through the child. I think many people don't do it nowadays, because try it. Ask a child, what did you learn in Cheder? And ashrei the father and the mother that has a child that can give an answer and say a pasuk. But then it was normal. What pasuk did you learn? So you would say a pasuk. So the child says aser ta'aser. Now, interestingly, normally you ask a child to hear a message from Hashem through the child. Here, whatever Rabbi Yechanan wanted to know, the Gemara is not writing. But now that Rabbi Yechanan engaged with the child, so the Amar Lei, this is important, this is not Rabbi Yechanan to the child. So now the nephew, the Ingele, tells his uncle, tells Rabbi Yechanan, Tell me what it means. In other words, why is it double? Amar lei my aser to aser. Why did Hashem write it in a double lashon? So Rabbi Yechanan told the Yanukah what we just learned above. Amar lei says that was Rabbi Yechanan's limud. Right in the Sifri that Tosfos quoted, it's from the word kol. And that's, by the way, that's a much stronger limud because there's an extra word. That's called a doiraisa. Here, aser to aser, to change it from a sin into a shin, that's more like a drasha. Amalei aser, if you give tithings, if you give 10% of your income, including on your money income, that will actually do it in order for you to become rich. Amalei, so the child tells Rabbi Yechanan, minolach, how do you know? So Amalei, Rabbi Yechanan responds, you know how I know? Try it out. Zil nasei. How great is that? How rare is that? So many things, dafka during Golus, because we're not aligned with Ruchnius, there are the way things should be. And then in Golus, there are sadly many things that are not the way they should be. This is always that way. In other words, how do I know it? That's the way it is. Go try it out. Amar late, to which the Yanukah, this is a child, Gavaldik, he challenges Rabbi Yechanan. What do you mean try it out? You're telling me, Asher, you know what the word bishvil means? It's not a segula. Do this in order for you to become wealthy. Are you allowed to do a mitzvah in order to become wealthy? Isn't that included in the prohibition that we have in Parshas Vo Eschanon, Lo Yisinasu Es Hashem? Don't test God, again, which means don't do a mitzvah with the intention to see whether you'll be rewarded. Doing a mitzvah as a hope, that's fine. I'm giving tzedakah, little, that's beautiful. And as we learned, the reason why we're called a tzaddik gomer, we just had this, is because if God forbid Hashem does not respond the way we want, we have no regrets that we did the mitzvah. Amachaya, at least we did a mitzvah. But to do it lenasois, I'm testing God. I want to see if it's true. We're not allowed to do that. Amar lei, to which Rabbi Yechanan responds to his nephew, to the Yanukah, Hachi, Amar Rab Hoshiyam, Chutz Mizu, the exception, you're right. But this is the exception, Meiser Ksafim, and by the way, Meiser not only Ksafim, all Meiser Ksafim, Meiser Zroyim, giving 10%. Is an exception, and that's a pasuk in Malachi. Shenamar, as it says that they were speaking about people giving money to the Beis Hamikdash. So it says, "Haviu es kol hamasar al Beis Ha'oitzer," bring all of the tithes, the Beis Ha'oitzer, the storage house. Again, it's speaking about the Beis Hamikdash because, as it says, "Vihi teref bebeisi," teref means food, right? Where do we have this in the hunger years in Mitzrayim? Right? So, and there should be food in my house. And then God adds, please test me with this. Aman Hashem tzavakos. That if you're going to give maisres, if I will not open up the windows in the heavens. Where do we have the windows in the heavens? By the mabul. That means that's what we're going to call parnasa, or wealth, not matter, more than matter. V'harikoisi lachem bracha. Beautiful lashon. V'harikoisi means to pour. That Hashem writes that I'm going to pour blessings to you ad bli dai, literally meaning without a limit. Now there's a drush here. We're going to focus on the word bli. My ad bli dai, amar rami barchama amar rav. That bli, right, means without a limit, but bli also means bala. Bala means to wither, to be worn out, which is that your lips will wear out by saying enough. That's called parnasa. That's not called matar. That's no end. That's arubas hashamayim. God will give and give and give and give, and until not only will say enough, our lips will be worn out by saying enough.
I heard a word that the lips never meet when they say die.
So Yakir is trying to say, that's the famous kasha, that from the 5 Motzoi Sapeh, right, the word die will never wear out your lips because we'll never say enough. But if we would have been using our lips, in other words, it's not from the poil, it's from the word beli bala. That's just the limud. That's to answer the question. How can you say, how can there be a yifilus if soisechem from die? Dalad yud is not with the lips. Okay, amalein. So you know what the Yanukah responded? There's some sort of...
Rabbi, how does this reconcile when you say tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, we're always saying this, the Eibush is going to give you, and that's all, people have emunah, that's emunah and betachon. You're davening because you're hoping that for a positive outcome?
100%. Very good, Samach. So listen. Tshuva and Tefilla tzedakah ma'virin esrei ha'gzeira. Let me ask you, how many Yidden, if you want to give extreme, were doing Tshuva, Tefilla and tzedakah during the Holocaust? And Yidden never lost their emunah. In other words, when we Tshuva, Tefilla and tzedakah have the power to be ma'virin esrei ha'gzeira, but we're not testing God. God is not on trial. Which means that if tragically it didn't work, we're not going to lose 1 ounce of emunah in God. We won't understand. We did what we were supposed to do. When it comes to tzedakah, it's different. When it comes to tzedakah, it will always work. It will. A person gives meiser ksafim, not from one day to then, give it a year. Do it diligently. You will become wealthy. Weiter. Now the Yanuk, you see, the Yanukah could be al pipshat. He knew that Rabbi Yechanan's kpeda took his father's life away. He's not pleasant with his uncle. So when he hears this, Amalei, so the Yanukah tells Rabbi Yechanan, havas mati Hassan. If I would have been up to Malachi, he was very young. He didn't get in Cheder, he wasn't up to Malachi. In our Cheder, we never got up to Yeshua. But there, they learned the whole Tanach. It says, if I would have got up to Malachi, I wouldn't have need you. I wouldn't have need you. I don't need Hoshaya Rabach. It's a clear pasuk. I asked you, how do you know it? I asked you, how are you allowed to do it? You're not allowed to test God. So when Rabbi Yechanan quoted the pasuk, he says, fine. That answer I would have known on my own. I didn't know the answer because I didn't get up to there yet. In other words, you were not machadash anything. You give the guy the answer, he says, yeah, pshita. That's the end of that conversation. 1 second. Another interaction. V'su ashkechei Rabbi Yechanan li'yanukah. The Reish Lakish. Another time Rabbi Yechanan met the young boy of Reish Lakish. The Yosef Amar. The pasuk says in Mishlei that iveles Adam to salif darkoi, that the foolishness means the wrongdoing. The iveles of Adam will make tisalif darkei, will pervert his way. Sometimes our path is not good because of my own mistakes. And then the person blames God. And then the person gets angry at God. That pasuk in Mishlei. So Yosef, so this is what the Yanukah, if I understand, the Yanukah was learning that. So he's up to Mishlei already. So Yosef Rabbi Yechanan, the Kamatam of Amr, so Rabbi Yechanan, hearing the pasuk, wondered out loud, and this is the premise of his question, everything is in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Even though Torah Shebachsav includes Nevi'im and Ksuvim, but every single idea that you find explicitly in Nevi'im and Ksuvim has to be found at least beremez, in a hint, in Torah. By the way, we have the same concept when it comes to Mishnayos, right? That you have Mishnah, you have Braisa, Tosefta, Midrash, Sifra, Sifri, Gemara. But everything that's found everywhere in Torah Shebal Peh is at least merumas in Mishnayos. Same thing. So when he heard the pasuk in Mishlei, Rabbi Yechanan wondered, where do we find such a hint in the Chumash? And Amalei, the Yanukah right away knew the answer, but he didn't answer the answer. He challenged his uncle. What, is this not hinted? There's a certain unpleasantness. Amalei, Otu ha mi loyremizi. What, is this not hinted? It's clear. It says in Parshas Miketz that the back and forth when the brothers were being accused by Yosef Atzadik, their brother, whom they at that point did not know is their brother, and then they're being told that they're spies with all the tzaris. So it says a pasuk vayetze libam, that their hearts went out, their hearts went down, their hearts sank, and vayechredu ish alachav, and the brothers were afraid, saying to each other, Lema mazois asolikim lanu. What did God do to us? In other words, they sold their brother, of course it's their fault. But when tzaras was happening to them, why is God doing it to us? Always blaming God. Rabbi Yechanan was so impressed. Now, I want to give another few things about Rabbi Yechanan. We had this twice. First of all, Rabbi Yechanan, the Gemara says clearly, Rashi tells us in Bava Kama Daf Kuf Yud Zayin, that's the second to last daf, that he had very large eyebrows, very long eyebrows, and they covered his eyes. Which, by the way, that's the reason when the Gemara says that Rabbi Yechanan used to sit by the gates of a mikveh, because he was so beautiful. He was like, Shufrei, that Rabbi Yechanan was almost ultimately like Yaakov, like Adam. He was the most beautiful man that lived, other than him not having a beard, a proper beard, because it didn't grow by him. So women that leave the mikveh should look at his face, and that should affect the beauty of the children. And there's a few issues with that. One issue is Ayin Hara. He shouldn't, but the Gemara there doesn't ask, what about his Yetzer Hara? The reason why we asked that on other Amoraim that did that, because Rabbi Yochanan couldn't see. If he didn't lift his eyebrows, he would not see. In the latter generations, the first Belzed Rebbe had that same thing. Mamash, he had eyebrows that completely covered his eyes. Big tzaddikim, and he didn't see this world unless he wanted to. So when he wanted to see the child as a compliment, this child really knows. So he asked for someone to lift up his eyebrow, or someone lifted up his eyebrow. Now Rabbi Yochanan wanted to look at him, L'mal Yusa, to connect better to such an amazing Yenuka. The mother of the Yenuka, which was the sister of Rabbi Yochanan, also knew that if Rabbi Yochanan or a tzaddik gazes at something with any type of kpeda, it can have a very detrimental effect. So he wanted to look at the child in a good way, but the mother got very afraid of Rabbi Yochanan. The sister of Rabbi Yochanan, who was the mother of this child, was afraid of that. So Dal Einai, he lifted his eyes. It means just he lifted his eyebrow, v'chazabei, to gaze at the child. And also Asya Ime, and the mother came right away, and Apikse, and she grabbed him away. And Amrolei, and she told her son, To Mikamei, stand up and go away from him. He should not do to you like he did to your father. And it was the Kaped of Rabbi Yochanan that brought about what we can say, the passing of Reish Lakish before his time, and we'll speak more. We spoke more about this when we learned that sugya there in Bava Metzia Daf Pei Dalet, and about Tzadikim and about Kapedas. There was okay. Let's go right there. I have a lot of nice Hasidic stories.
That's what happened to Reish Lakish also. Was that Yochanan looked at him and that?
Not that the Gemara says that.
Okay.
There was a Kapeda. There was something that Reish Lakish said that Rabbi Yochanan understood it in a non-complimentary way, and he reacted by having some sort of Kapeda on Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish passed away, and then Rabbi Yochanan passed away. It's a very tragic story. Okay.
And his sister asked Rabbi Yochanan to rescind it, and she said, "What about my son?" He said, "I'll take care of it."
I'll take care of your son. That's very. Thank you for reminding. I'll take care of your son. And if this is the son, so you see that she didn't accept it. Don't even look at my son. Don't even look at my son. We have the same. Where did we have that story that they needed a miracle, so they took Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to go speak to Rome. So I think it was Rabbi Yossi that was going to go along with him, and the father didn't want him to go along, and he promised, I won't give a kpeda, and he gave a kpeda on him. Okay, let's go right. You have to be very cautious around great people. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu medagdik and tzaddik kachut ha'sa'ara. No, there's the people, when you get close to God, we just learned that yesterday, the higher up you go, you're going to be judged with more severity. The same thing is when you get very close to a tzaddik, tzaddikim are like the Creator, are like Hashem, they can be very makbet. The message is not to stay away from them. The message is to get close to a tzaddik and to be careful. Okay, right. This is his big liner, this is the idea of today, amongst other things. Matar b'shvil yachid. That Hashem will provide rain even if only one person needs it. And we're going to see Hashgacha Pratis revealed through rain. I can't hold myself in. We're going to see on Amud Beis that there were Amoraim, that they would walk through their field, in their one field, and there were different rows, and they would tell God, this row needs more rain. This row doesn't, because it's going to ruin it too much water. And exactly that's how it rained. Is specific for one person, for one row. Like, unbelievable. But Parnasa, now Parnasa is beyond rain. Let's touch Parnasa, we would call that Ashirus. Parnasa means prosperity. Abundance is only Bishvil Rabim. If a Yachid Taka merits the Parnasa just for him, if it's not natural, it won't happen. Okay, now let's go. Matar comes even for a Yachid, as it says. People always associate Savai with the Toichach. It's not true. There are so many brachas, revealed brachas in Parshas Kisavai that it's amazing. So it says in Parshas Kisavai, Yiftach Hashem L'cha. You get the L'cha? The L'cha means in the singular. Hashem will open for you His good treasure. Laseis mitar artzacha, and the word that's used is matar, rain. But parnasa is only b'shvil rabim. Prosperity is only if there's a need of many or in the merit of the many, as it says in Beshalach. Hineni mamtir lochem, not locha. Lochem lechem, and the understanding of the lechem. If you remember when we learned the whole sugi of the man, don't think the man was only what fell. With the man fell not only on occasion meat, whether it was then or whether it was in the morning, but avanim toivus umargolius fell with the man. So the manna was like wealth, and that was lechem. Meisvei, it says in a brayse Rabbi Yisrael Yehuda Omer, Shloisha parnesim toivim amle Yisrael. The Yidden, we merited to have three amazing leaders. Who are the three amazing leaders? Elohein, Moshe, and Aaron and Miriam. And the Gimel toivis nitnu al yodam, and three great gifts were given through them, or on because of them. As we'll see, it wasn't because of the people, because when each one passed away, that gift also went away. The people were still there. The Elohein, the Be'er, the well of Miriam, and the Anon, and the Anan Yaakavoid, and the Manon. And now which one came for whom? Be'er, B'schus Miriam. And Amud Anon, B'schus Aharon, and Mon B'schus Moshe. And the Lekutei Sichos in the beginning, the Rebbe explains the difference and the connection. So the Anonim B'kitzur is some sort of external, Makiv Dike, Soiviv type of protection, that protected everyone equal. Everyone got the same protection, and that is connected to the midah of Aharon, which is chesed. He loved everyone. He saw everyone meritorious. He did not differentiate between one and the other. The concept of Torah is you have to understand it. Everyone understands the Torah differently. It's like ingesting food. That's connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the koyach of water, I'm using the words of the Sikha there, water is not amazing, water is not giving you nutrition, but water is taking the nutrition that's already in your body and it's bringing it around to everywhere in your body. It takes something from here to there, and that was the concept of Miriam, that even as a child, she was the one that helped women give birth. She brought sustenance even for little children. She took that which was there and she made sure it got to every single individual. So what happened? How do I know that it was for them? It wasn't only, it wasn't through them for the people, it was for them and everyone else benefited. Because if it was for the people, then it should always continue. But Mesa Miriam, when she passed away, Nistalik HaBe'er, that is when the water is seized. That's the whole story of Moshe Rabbeinu needing to get it again. Shenemar, as it says in Chukas, V'Tama Sham Miriam, and it right away juxtaposed, Ksiv Basrei V'lo Yehoyamayim La'edam. However, it did come back. When it came back in the merit of Moshe and Aaron. V'Chazra B'Zchus Shneim. Similarly, when Aaron HaKoyin passed away, Nistalko Anana Yaakavoid, also in Parshas Chukas, right after the Torah records the passing of Aaron, what does it say? That Vayishma Haknani Melech Harod, and Ma Shmua Shama, what exactly did he hear? Shama Shemesa Aaron, he heard that Aaron passed away, and he became aware that V'Nistalko Anana Yaakavoid, that these clouds of glory that also protected us also went away. And therefore he erroneously thought, and indeed, V'hainu d'chsiv, guys, we had this in the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, that it says, Vayiru kol ha'eda, the pshat is everyone saw, King Gava Aharon, that Aaron was Gava. The Lashon that's used by Tzaddikim. Amar Abba Bo'u, Al tikra Vayiru, it's not only that they saw, Ela Vayiru, they appeared. Aaron passing away allowed for the Jewish people to be seen by others, because the Anonim left. And that's mamish the way that Shlakish expounded by telling us to Omer Shlakish that the word in the Torah, ki, mishamesh ba'arba l'shaynish, can have four different translations. I dilma elodaha, if perhaps, but because, and here it means because. In other words, because of Aaron's passing, they appeared. Araya that the Anani HaKaved was linked to Aaron's life, and even though he passed away, and indeed the Anani HaKaved for a moment left, Chazru Shneim B'schus Moshe. Chazru Shneim, I want to tell you, B'medayik in the Gemara, it means that since the water came back in the merit of Moshe and Aaron, mashma, that when Aaron passed away after Miriam, mashma, the water also stopped. And then it came back. No, that's not recorded in the Torah. Just the Gemara says Chazru Shneim. Or you can learn pshat that the water continued only b'chus Moshe, but not mashma like that. Meis Moshe, when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away in Nistalkal Kulam, they were all taken away from us. Shenemar, as it says, a pasuk in Zechariah, that v'achechid means I will remove eshloishes harayim, all of the three shepherds, the first white line b'yerach echad. All of the three shepherds were removed. Begashmi is from us in the same month. Now that's not true. It's not true. Miriam, Mesa, ben Nisan. Aaron passed away in Av. That's the only yard site written explicitly in the Torah. And Moshe passed away in Adar. They didn't pass away in the same month. The answer is Elam Alamed. Yeah, that even though Miriam passed away in Nisan, but the water returned. Aaron passed away in Av, but the Ananim returned. It's that which came because of the three Rayim continued only b'schos Moshe. Now when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, they all three were removed. Elam Alamed in his battle Gimel Matanis Toivish Nitnu Al Yadam, and therefore V'nistalku Kulam B'Yerech Echad. That which we received because of them was removed on the same month, which is in the month of Adar. What's the point? The kasha of all this? Alma, now the mana is wealth. Fakir, the pasuk that he brought above, right, that it's lochem, was from the man. Lechem min hashamayim. Alma ashkechon parnasa b'shvil yachid. The man fell because of Moshe Rabbeinu. Answers the Gemara, Shani Moshe, kiven de la rabim hu boi. Moshe Rabbeinu asked for the man, not for him. It began by it being asked for everyone. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu, Hanasi hu akoil. Moshe is everyone. He didn't ask for him. That's why he's considered the Rabbim. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Rabbim. Weiter.
There's no difference between rain and mun?
Because the man is being connected to Parnasa. Which we have the koyach, Chesarusa de Lasata, to merit that Hashem is going to give us our needs. When you're asking for prosperity, something beyond your needs, people need to eat. Do we need the manna with the gold and the diamonds? We don't need that. That's beyond our needs. That comes for the Rabbin.
Couldn't the Gemara have said that the answer is that there's a difference between mun and rain? And explain why at that time with Moshe they needed the mun?
No, they didn't need the man. They could have lived of something much more inferior than the man. Man, when he brought a proof that Parnasa b'shvol Rabbim, what does he quote? Hineni mamtir lachem lechem. The pasuk that the Gemara quotes above it from Bishalach is about the man. The man is a symbol of Parnasa, not of matter. I know you're seeing the word mamtir. Forget about the word mamtir. The Gemara connects it to Parnasa. Okay, another story. 3 Amoraim. Rav Huna bar Manoach. V'Rab Shmuel bar Idi, v'Rab Chia, not the known Rab Chia, Stam Rab Chia, but Rab Chia, Mivas Tonya. Second to last line. They were Talmidim learning by Rava. When Rava passed away, they needed a new teacher, they needed a new Rebbe. So they went and they found Rav Papa. However, Kol aim was to have a Amar Shmaitza. Whenever Rav Papa was teaching, but the type of logic that Rav Papa was using that was different than Rava, for them was not working. It wasn't logical to them, or maybe initially Rav Papa didn't speak as clear. There was something from their experience that Rav Papa was not living up to Rava. And Hava Meramzi Adodi, they wouldn't, God forbid, say something derogatory, but they would wink to each other. Like, there he goes again. Like, either how much I miss Rava, or there's something not logical. There was some sort of signaling that they made to each other that indicated their displeasure from their new teacher, Rav Papa. And Rav Papa noticed it, and Cholish Date, it distressed him. It was very hurtful to him. Daf Tesamad Beis. And what happened is Akriyuya Bechalmei. So they again, psukim, communication of Hashem comes through psukim. Rav Papa dreamt this pasuk, the pasuk that we just quoted from Zechariah, that va'achechit eshloishes haroim, that the 3 shepherds will be removed. Who do the 3 shepherds refer to here? To those 3 Amoraim. Wow. Now, there's so many ways I got it. Let me tell you the way I understand it, is that who are the 3 great shepherds? Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Rav Papa was shown in the dream, that they're going to pass away. But Hashem was telling Rav Papa who they are. They are 3 shepherds. So what did Rav Papa react? By davening they should not pass away. When they were leaving the shiur, Omar Lahu, and this is so important, the Girsa, Brachas Daf Samach Daled. People are familiar with that. Whether you tell a person when you say goodbye to him, go Lishalom, which is what we should say, versus go Bishalom, which is only used when you're saying goodbye from someone who already passed away. Like rest in peace, Lahavdal, even in English, Bishalom. So we're going to read the girsa that we have on the side. He told them, Leizlu Rabbanon Lishloima. Let's learn the girsa. He benched them. He benched them because he heard in this dream, he didn't hear the negative. You know, it's maybe the communication was taka that we're standing up for your honor, and they are humiliating you, so they're going to be removed. Rav Papa hears that they're the shloisha saroim, so Rav Papa davened for them, and they were given life. That's the way we can learn pshat. And maybe I can tell you more than that. They were given life because that's the pshat we're learning over it, that matar is even liyachid, and zikr if lerabim, if they're needed for the community. Like Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe that's the one. Moshe Rabbeinu is Tzoyrech Rabim, they are considered Royim. So even if someone is in service of the community, even if they, so to say, their time is up, they're going to be blessed with more life. Okay, let's go weiter. Another story. Rab Shimi Barashi. Another story with Rav Papa. Havashchiach Hamed Rav Papa. And Havamakshale too, but Rab Shimi always asked good questions to Rav Papa. And Yom Echad, one day, Chazya the Nafal Alape, Rav Shimi Bar Ashi was near his teacher Rav Papa when Rav Papa fell Tachnun. Chevra Tachnun, the effectiveness, like we learned on Amud Aleph, that giving Ma'aser Ksafim is going to bring a bracha into this world, Ad Blidai, Ubechanuni Nabazois, the prayer that has the greatest effect of bringing down a response here is Tachnun. Even more than Shmoyna Esrei. Which is why really it's not that people are looking to get out of Tachnun. People would go to a shul knowing that they're still saying Tachnun. That's how important it is to say Tachnun. Now people used to really fall down on their faces, and the ideal way of saying Tachnun is the way we bow down on the Beis Hamikdash, obviously not on a stone floor, but Nefilla, completely laying down. And that should bring the bracha down all the way in this world. If the prayer, if the one who's being mispalel has certain failings which will clog that pipe, then his request will not materialize. And as we learned on Amud Aleph, and most people will blame God, it's not working. So people will think that Nefilas Apayim doesn't work. So therefore Chazal said that unless you are a great tzaddik in private, in public we don't really fall on our faces. To remember that you're supposed to fall on your face, l'zecher, we put our heads down on our hand, with all of the pratim that you don't touch your skin, because if you are on a stone floor, then you have to put something to intervene between you and the floor, so we fall on our sleeve, or we use the talers or the tefillin v'chulei. He heard him saying real tachnun. He was really davening. And what did he...
Rabbi, where do we learn that the tachnun has the greatest opportunity to bring a response beyond the Yavida? So
Baruch, I don't remember the page, but we'll get there soon. We're going to get there over the next 2 or 3 months. That I know. In Moyed. If I'm wrong, then we'll find out in the next few months. Or you can Google it and see, maybe Dr. Google can figure out where it is, or someone else amongst, maybe Danny Fishman, someone will remember there's a Gemara that speaks about it. Now, Shammai, the Amar, so this Rab Shimi heard that what is Rav Papa davening for? Not for parnasa, not for health. He's saying, God, save me from the humiliation if I won't know how to answer my student Rav Shimi. In other words, he was very challenged by that student. So he says, Rachmana Litzlan, guys, it's not used the way we use it. Rachmana Litzlan means like, oh, something terrible. No, he's asking Hashem, save me. Miki Sufa the Shimi, I shouldn't be ashamed. When a student asks a question and people like us don't know, we're not ashamed. We feel good. But Rav Papa felt ashamed. He didn't know. So what happened was, Kibol Alei Shtikusa. So Rav Shimi took upon himself, he's no longer going to ask, or silence, and Vesuloi Akshale. Now here again, we're learning Agadata. The simple pshat of the Gemara sounds like that he took upon himself to be silent, and he never challenged Rav Papa. I don't think that's what it means. Because if that is what the Gemara means, it should have said that Rav Shimi took upon himself to be quiet. Why does the Gemara have to say Vesuloi Akshale? Maybe Vesuloi actually means the beautiful between the love that each one had for the other. So Rav Shimi felt, I'm not gonna ask. When you know what how Hashem rewarded Rav Shimi? That from then on, Rav Papa taught on such a way that there were no more questions to ask. So it wasn't that Rav Shimi lost out not to Hashem Rav Papa. That's the Vesula Yakshale. All this, I think all this is back to Matar, because I think understanding learning is not Parnasa. Understanding learning is Matar. It's we need to understand. So God gifted the student that he should get his matar. Who was his matar? Rav Papa. Rav Papa until then was not teaching on the way that Rav Shimi needed, which is why he had all these questions. So the beauty, Rav Shimi didn't want to shame his teacher. But Rav Shimi needs matar. I have to understand. So God blessed Rav Papa from now on that he taught in a better way. So Rav Shimi...
Rabbi, are we taking from this that Rav Papa said Tachanun out loud?
Or Rav Shimi, Aaron, you have to see what Hasidim did to the Rebbe. They stuck their nose everywhere. There are people that can show you a picture of the Rebbe davening in his room. Hasidim have a nature that they don't give their Rebbe any privacy. It could be that Rav Papa was davening in private, but the Chassid, the student, went where he wanted to hear.
Rabbi, wasn't the Gemara where the guy was
underneath the bed and when they were having relations? That was, no, where was that? That was Mamish recently.
Yeah.
No? Bruce, you're not off the hook here. You also have to remember, you ran away. Where's?
By Sukkah.
By
the Eved under the rabbi.
Okay, so
Slept under the bed.
slept under the bed to see how they're having relations?
Oh, no.
And that wasn't in Sukkah. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we should all be ashamed. It's a good shame. We should be on our toes and we should chazar our learning. Weiter. That's, I get the whole hemshech. That matar, even for a yachid. It may ashgacha pratis mamish. The amar reish lakish minayla matar b'shvil yachid. That means if everyone planted. One chacham decided to plant his field a week late. He was fabrenging the whole month of Kislev. Then he wakes up to plant. For him, rain is going to fall. Matar is given to one. D'chsiv sha'alu ma'Hashem matar. If you ask of Hashem matar, be'eis malkoish. In other words, it's already the time of the late rains. Like you woke up late.
There's Rav Kahana under the bed of Rav.
Thank you. And where is that, Danny? Danny is thinking. Okay, right, let's go. So Hashem, you know what happens? Hashem oiser chazizim. And now we go into the whole cloud sugya. So Hashem, the chazizim is a certain type of clouds. Hashem will bring the chazizim. And umitar geshem yitein lohem. Even though lohem is in the plural, look at the next word. Leish. Thank you, brachas. Leish oiser esev basada. To a man, to a grass in the field. So first of all, Reish Lakish expounds. You would think that when will God send rain if many people need it? Many people planted late. No, La'ish. Only for one. V'tanya, further, it says in a Braisa, Ila'ish, at least you would think, when does God bring about rain even for one person? At least this Chacham, this Ish, planted many fields. So it's many fields. L'chol Sodoisov. That's why the Torah adds the words Sada, even if it's only for one of his fields. And he Sada Yachal, at least maybe the whole field. Talmud Loimer Esev. One grass, one plant. And you know what? Here is your story. Maiserav, Kihod Doniel, Barkatina. That Daniel has to be humble. Havale, the first white line. Ahu Ginsoy at a garden. And Kol Yoima have a Ozil Visoyer Lo. He would examine his field every day. And he would speak to Hashem in the field. Ha Mishra. Mishra means Shura. This row, Bayamaya. God, this row needs water. The second line. Va Mishra loy Bayamaya. But the other one, Fakert, too much rain is also not good. And that's Hashem responded to him. For Asa Mitra, rain came, Vikomashki, Kol Heichademi Bayale, Maya, and only fell on the rows that needed the water. Hashgacha pratis mamish, that was begolui matar. Now that we quoted the pasuk that Hashem will bring about chazizim, it's not supposed to rain. God is bringing rain for one guy, for one grass. What's chazizim? What type of clouds are called chazizim? Rabbi Yasi, Berebi, Chanina, Malamed. Actually, chazizim is in the plural. We're going to focus first on the plural. Malamed shall call tzaddik v'tzaddik. That for each tzaddik, Hakadosh Baruch Hu oislei chazaz b'fnei atzmai. Hashem is going to bring us a cloud for each one again, because every field needs a different amount of rain. You need a lot of rain, you need a little bit of rain. Hashgacha pratis, not it's generally raining and everyone, no. Every person has their own cloud. Now, so that's the plural. Now, what type of cloud is chazizim? Amar Rav Yehuda, chazizim are the flying clouds. Ke'ilu, the other clouds are not flyers. But we'll see in a moment what that means. Amar Rav Yehuda, poirchos. Flying cloud. As we'll see in a moment, that there's a certain type of flying cloud that comes about right before the rain falls. And every tzaddik has their own flying cloud. Amar Rabbi Yechanan, similar matar. How do you know it's about to rain? Poirchos. When you have these flying clouds, my porchos, what do you mean by a flying cloud? But the other clouds are what? They're stationary somewhere. All the clouds, so we just got used to it. It's like the wonders of God. Amar Rav Papa, Eva Kalisha, to say Eva Semichta. When you have a very thin cloud that's beneath a thick cloud, and the thicker clouds, even if they're moving relative to the thin clouds, they're more stationary. So when you look up to the heavens and you see above thicker clouds, under the thicker clouds you have thin clouds that are moving about, that's a siman, says Rabbi Yechanan, that it's about to rain. More details. Amar Rav Yehuda. Nehila. Now let's speak about rain itself. Nehila means a light rain, a fine rain. Nehila mekame mitra, if first comes a fine rain and that precedes a heavy downpour, you should know that it's not like you have in many tropical places, there's a downpour and that's it. If before the downpour came a light rain, that means that these rains will keep on going. Then asimitra, then there's going to be a sustained amount of rain. But if first there's a downpour and then comes this thin light rain, if the nehila is basar mitra, that's a siman, pasik mitra. So if it begins very heavy, then it goes very light, that means it's about to end. And a siman, bekame mitra, mitra, if the light rain comes before the downpour, we said that's a siman, that the downpour won't end that quick, or it's going to just become a very long, sustainable rain. The siman is like emahoil. Samahoilsa is a sieve. When you sift flour, just what happens, bepoil, is first the finer flours goes through the sieve. It begins with little, and then the thicker, the coarser flours come out. The basar mitra, pasik mitra, if it begins with heavy and then it goes to very light, and that means it's about to stop, the siman is charia de izeh, the dung of a goat. It's the feces of the goats, it goes from heavy to light, and then it stops. There's a sipur of Rav Mendel Futefas v'chulei about the charia de izeh, but pasha en kana makam. Let's go weiter. Ula dalaras ula ikla lebavel. Ula went to Bavel. Kiyadua went back and forth, and chaza porchis, and he saw these flying clouds. He knew. It means there were heavy clouds, there were thinner clouds, they were moving around. So he knew from our Gemara, Amar Lahu, he told the Chevra, Panumane, clear all your outdoor furniture that in Bavel, they were not made like in LA, the outdoor furniture. They were not made for the rain. They're going to melt in the rain. Because the Hasha Asra Mitra, it's about to rain. And Ula knew, but people didn't know. You know what happened at the end? It never rained. L'soif lo yasa mitra. So Amar Ula says, Ki heicha de meshakri bavloi, just like the Babylonians are liars. Hachi meshakri mitrayor, the rains are liars. What did we just learn yesterday? That if a person makes a commitment to give tzedakah birabim and they don't fulfill it, that is why the rains are held back. And that's exactly the types of rain that we were learning. Yakir pointed out, reminded us that in Sukkah, we had the exact same expression regarding losing your possessions or losing your real estate for making pledges in public and not fulfilling it. But in our context, this is about the real v'otzaras hashomayim, not that it never gets cloudy, that it's like a woman who's pregnant, she's sitting on the labor, and the baby is not coming. So no, it's not that I didn't know how to teach what's happening. That you guys are not honest. Another story with Ula. Ula, Ikla, guys, we had this in the beginning. We had this in Psachim. Ula, Ikla, Bavel. Ula once went to Bavel. And Chazi and he saw how abundant of food they had. Meloi, Sana, the Tamrei. An entire basket filled with dates. And dates have so much nutritional value in it. Was only a one zuz. In other words, they had Parnasa Bahar Chava. So Amar, so he said, Maloi tzana the dufsha bezuza, that an entire basketful of dufsha, of dvash, because real good dates, you have the dvash, the date, honey. And he was speaking about the wealth of the produce there is only for one zuz, and he initially criticized ubavloi liyaski be'oraisa. No, it's people, they were learning, but they could have learned even more. They're spending 2 hours to work. Why do they have to even work those 2 hours when everything is so plentiful and food is so inexpensive? They should be learning even more. So first of all, when he saw the type of abundance, he viewed it in a critical way towards the Jewish people. They should be learning more. But Balayla, that night, he went ahead and he ate some of those dates. And Siaru, those dates, they gave him diarrhea. So Omar, he said the opposite then. He says, Meloit sana de sakina bazuzah, that here in Bavel, you can buy a whole basket full of knives for a zuz. So people are tempted because it's so inexpensive. People eat food that hurts them, and they still learn Torah. He saw it in the opposite way. Ubavloi oski b'oraisa. And the Chu'ura, one story is after the other, because initially, Ulah's interpretation of the lack of rain was that they are mishakri bavloi. Trying to say that after he was there for a while, he began to see fakert, certain amazing milas that Yidden had dafka that lived in Bavel. Okay, here we're starting such an important sugya. But ubehegdim al pi Chasidus, as the Rebbe used to always quote that Rav Meir have a medayik bishma, that many machloikis in between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua is to be understood by their very names. Eliezer means Hashem will help, and Yeshua means Hashem will save. When do people use the word Be'ezras Hashem? And when do people say, I need a Yeshua? It's very simple. When things are, by the laws of nature, they're more or less okay, but you need more help. You need a help. Shmoy Keinu, an Ezer. Means you're doing it, you need some help. That's called the Ezer, Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua, when do people need a salvation? When what you did is not working at all. O Yichdafa Yeshua.
On Hashem Mashiach, now we move.
On Hashem Mashiach. Very nice. So here's the word, and it goes to everything, even to the machlokes we had on Rosh Hashanah, that Nisan means miracles. The word Nisan. So the world is created in Nisan, that's a Yeshua. God is always saving us. It's all God. Or Yehuda Elah. Not Einoid, Milvada Einoid. And Eliezer means that, of course Hashem is helping us, but we have our part. Milmata Lamaila, which is the month of Tishrei, which is the letters going in the opposite direction. When you go from the end, the beginning is God. Aleph, the Tov is the Olam Hazeh, the end. And Tov Shin, you're going backwards. Milmata Lamaila means from the perspective of Yehuda Tata, we are here, but we begin to elevate ourselves and realize that Hashem is helping us the whole time. So in the context over here, where does the rain come from? And Elu ve'elu divrei elikim chayim. But in other words, is rain coming from down here? Milmata Lamaila, our avoida. My avoida brings about the rain, which is a sheet of Rabbi Eliezer, versus a sheet of Rabbi Yeshua. Now, how Rabbi Yeshua is explained al pi the chachma of science, leave it to the scientists to figure out. But there's a sheet in the Torah that all of the waters of the rains come from the heavens, wherever the heavens are. And the clouds are only kalim that hold those waters, and then it's brought down over here. Let's read it inside. Tanya. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer is always the avodah milmata lamayla. Kol ha'olam kulayim yemei ukiyanus u'shaisa. All of the rains in the world are drinking from the waters of ukiyanus. Here means all of the oceans. So there's waters in the oceans. Here, milmata, it goes up and it comes back down. As it says, a pasuk in Bereshis, ve'ed yalam in aretz, that vapor will rise up from the aretz, and ve'ishka es kol pnei adam, and it's going to water the entire surface of all of the soil of all of the world. It's from here. Now, why does it have to go up? Because up representing Kaviyachal Hashem. Hashem helps us. Our part and God's our partnership. Eliezer. Amalei Rabbi Yeshua, can't be. I'll show you how you're wrong. Because if the waters originate from the seas, the waters of the seas are salty, then rainwater should have been salty. And al pi pnimius, our avoida is salty, is feh. There was a big chassid that said, Ki ata shemei atfilas kol feh. who's a person, größer Mensch, that Hashem is so great, even if Hashem still listens. What we're giving the rain, what we do at best brings up salty. Sweet is from the Eibishter. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Enochanami, good, that our avoid is not perfect, but we have to, it begins from here, and then the clouds sweeten it. That's Pshat Hashem's helping it. Amar loi, that mimatkin be'ovim, that they are sweetened in the clouds. Okay, anyway, that sheet is Rabbi Eliezer. No, all of the world is drinking from the Mayim Elyonim. We learn about the Mayim Elyonim in the second day of creation. We learn about the Rakia, that no one knows what the Rakia is. And maybe the pshat of the Rakia is that there's the atmosphere. And what's beyond the atmosphere, not the black space. Some ruchniistic place. Water is coming from another dimension. Let's work it that way. From a spiritual dimension. And the interface between the ruchniistic heavens and Olam Haza is this Rakia in which there are clouds. Shenamar, as it says on Pasuk Nekev, everything is in the Torah. It says, Limitar hashamayim tishtamoyim. Not limitar ha'aretz. From the rains of the heavens will you drink water. The clouds, yeah. Only the clouds, the clouds build up and they ascend up to the heavens. Heavens in the atmosphere. And and they open up their mouths. Now you don't see that mouth because the clouds are connected to some dimension that we don't see. And there they open up their mouths and they take in water the way a leather bag people would have annoyed. They would have certain type of wine skins. The way they would carry water. It opens its mouth like a noid, and it receives the meimatid from the reservoirs in the heavens, from the kuba. Shneimar, as it says, yozoiku matar le'edoi, that they means the heavens will pour rain to its cloud. In other words, it's being poured into the clouds from a higher dimension. And then the clouds, Hashem made, they're perforated like a sieve. Which once they are mekabel the mayim, then they pass it through. It's the channel. The word mechashrois means to sprinkle. We spoke about this on Daf Beis. The gevura is geshamim. The gevura of God is in order to do chesed. The gevura is geshamim, is the rain is coming from a place where there's much greater abundance. But here on the earth, too much is like, more is less. We can't handle all of it. So Hashem in his chesed, he executes gevura, which means that it's only a sprinkle. Shinamar, as it says, chashras mayim ovei shchakim. The rains of the heaven, right, come, no. Chashras mayim means a sieve of water. That's the pshat chashras, that the water is connected to a sieve. The way it goes out, the clouds are here are only to be metzamtzim those mayims. If it would come directly, it would overwhelm us. It goes through the clouds, so it's sprinkled. And that's the continuation. Ve'ein bein tipa latipa elikim lo'nima. That Hashem makes it that the drops don't touch each other in what we call the sky. If not, one would touch two, and two would touch three, and by the time it comes there will be a whole wave that would splash on your head. It's going to break everything. So Hashem separates. This type of separation, which is called gevura, is God's gevura, holy gevura, necessary gevura. And that's greatness. What happened the Yom Shenivru B'Shamayim V'Aretz? That what happened was people think that it was Hashem's merging of his midah of giving chesed, his infinite koyach of gevura, the way the Alter Rebbe explains it, and together you have a heavens and an earth. You have, but you don't have too much. Shenamar, as it says, that God does great things beyond their comprehension. V'ksiv, and it says right afterwards, the next pasuk, hanoisin mitar al pnei haaretz. So the fact that there's juxtaposed matar is connected to God's greatness. That's ein cheker. Uksiv lahalon, regarding the creation, halo yadata im lo shamata elekei olam Hashem ein cheker lisfonasai. And here again, in other words, that Hashem's bina is beyond comprehension. Just to know the hemshech hapsukim there, boirei ktsois haaretz. That pasuk is in relation to the creation of the aretz. So in both rain and the creation, ein cheker. What's beyond? Because by us it's either chesed or gevura. And by God, it's both. God is giving, but He's putting a limit that we should be able to receive it. The Gemara takes out the next few words. Let's quickly, we have another minute. Come on, that He waters the mountains from His upper chambers, which means Rabbi Yochanan teaches that the waters are coming from some ruchnistic place. Come on, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Eliezer. This is a pasuk. So he says, Kivan the Salki lo Hassan. Yeah, the water begins here. But once the waters go to the clouds, now it's already considered God's upper chambers. And he brings that ayah. It says again in Parshas Kisavei, in the concealed brachas, that avak, dust, v'afar, and dirt will come from the heavens. Now, 1 second, they don't originate there. The pshat is, it looks not positive that avar and afa go up and then it comes down. So from us, it looks like it's coming from the heavens. Even the matli lohasam, since it rises there, so we call it min hashemayim karilei hachinami kiven the salka lohasam ma'ala yosef karilei. We'll stop over here. We're leaving off. We'll continue, God willing, tomorrow. 2 lines before the bottom of the Amit. A lot more.